What is happening, wonderful people? So last night I got a chance to go see The Bride, and in this film, in the 1930s in Chicago, Frankenstein's monster asks the doctor to create a companion for him. Together, they give life to a murdered woman known as the Bride, sparking romance, police interest, and radical social change. And that's all I can say without giving too much away. Let's talk about it.
What's your favorite scary movie?
So The Bride, when it comes to The Bride, this has easily been one of my most anticipated films of the year. I have been over the moon excited for this movie, and we're in March now. I think this has been, so January, February, March. I think this is the first movie of the year that I've actually really been excited about. Like the first movie coming out this year that I've been over the moon excited about. I really have.
My head, you found another one, but I am the better one. I won't let you forget me. I still see your shadows in my room. Can't take back the love that I gave.
And I remember when the first trailer released. I remember when both trailers were released. I was over the moon excited. I think I can't decide which trailer was better. They were both great. Like both trailers, the marketing as a whole was great. And when they released the first trailer, the teaser trailer, I was hooked instantly. I loved almost everything about it. I loved the overall atmosphere. I loved the overall aesthetic. I loved the editing and even the music in the trailer. I absolutely could not wait. I absolutely could not wait for this movie. I was over the moon excited for it. And I'm not even the biggest Frankenstein fan. I know we've had a lot of Frankenstein movies, and I've never read the books. I've never read the novel from 1818. I never have, by Mary Shelley. I'm not a big Frankenstein fan, I'm not. But I think the casting here, let alone, it had me intrigued. I love the cast ensemble in here. There's not like a lot of actors, but the actors that we do get in here, it's a star-studded cast. It's a great cast in this movie. You have Christian Bale, who I absolutely love. Christian Bale is arguably, and I know a lot of people would agree, but in my opinion, one of, if not the best actors to ever walk the planet. He's one of the greatest actors in the world, and he still is. He's so great. He plays Frankenstein's monster in here, and like I said, he's easily one of the greatest actors to ever walk the planet. And like I said, I know most of y'all would agree. And I even remember when they released that first look image of him as Frankenstein's monster before they released any of the trailers, and I was like, man, the makeup on him is amazing. It's amazing. Like the makeup, when they released that image, when they released it before the trailers, I was just like, man, this might be really good. And Jessie Buckley, who I'm not too familiar with, she plays the Bride in here. I know that she was in Hamnet, which I did not see, but I heard great things about it. I heard the movie was great. I heard she was great in it. And Maggie Gyllenhaal as a director. I love Maggie Gyllenhaal. I do. I love her as an actor, especially in The Dark Knight as Rachel. And I know that's where I mainly know her from, and I know a lot of y'all probably watching, a lot of y'all who know Maggie Gyllenhaal, that's probably where y'all mainly know her from as well. And I was really excited to see how she would be as a director, because I like her as an actress. I do. She's a great actress, but I was excited to see her as a director, and that whole vibe, the Bonnie and Clyde mixed with the punk rock vibe and style, I was excited for that. That was like the main thing I was excited for. But after walking out of the film, unfortunately, I was somewhat disappointed with it. I was. So if you're new to my channel, or if you've been following my channel for a while, you know that I like to talk about my positives first, then my negatives next. But even when I need to be negative, I will be positive. And even when I need to be positive, I will be negative as well. And overall, there are some things that I really do like about this movie, but this movie will end up, unfortunately, sadly, it will go on my most disappointing movies of the year at the end of the year. It's not horrible by any means, but it's not one that I need to ever watch again. It's definitely just a one-time watch for me. And when the reviews strolled in, like maybe about a week ago or a couple of days ago, they were not looking good. And I was unfortunately very nervous because I was excited about this movie. I was over the top excited for it. And obviously, I form my own opinion. I give y'all always authentic reviews. And I was nervous. And I walked out just being overly okay with it. That being said, though, there are some things in here that I think do work, even if the movie is overly disappointing and even if the movie is just middle of the road. I mentioned before that the trailer hooked me. It did. And that the trailer had this like rock and roll type, punk rock type, Bonnie and Clyde type style vibe, look and feel. And it does. And I like the 1930s look in here. I do. And not so much the aesthetic and not so much the atmosphere, but the way that the film's shot. It's really gorgeous to look at. It is, and I think that the cinematography and the color grading both are really great in here. They both are, and the way that Maggie Gyllenhaal moved the camera in here was really cool and rad. I like how she moved in here, like the way she just turns the camera and like the camera angles and just the way how fast she moved the camera. I like how she moved in here, and you can tell that she had fun directing this movie. You could tell that she likes being a director, and you could tell that she had fun behind the camera. And you can tell she had fun really just moving the camera as a whole. And Jessie Buckley and Christian Bale in here. Like I said, I'm not too familiar with Jessie Buckley as an actress, but I am with Bale. Bale is one of, if not the greatest actors to ever walk the planet, and they both crushed it. They did. They absolutely both knocked it out of the park. And Christian Bale plays Frankenstein's monster, and he plays him in a way that's really interesting. The way his character was written was interesting. He's very down to earth, very kind, and he mainly kind of just keeps to himself. And Jessie Buckley, who plays the bride, she's the opposite. She's very chaotic and very energetic, and she brings the high octane energy and craziness in here. But I really did like their chemistry in here. I really did. Their acting chemistry was really great in here, was really good. And Annette Bening was in here as well, along with Penelope Cruz and Peter Sarsgaard and Jake Gyllenhaal. Jake Gyllenhaal was in here as well. And all four of them have a decent enough size role. Like, all four of them have somewhat big roles. Jake Gyllenhaal isn't in here for long. He's kind of only in here for a few minutes, but throughout the film, he's an actor in here. He plays an actor, a famous actor, a very popular actor, and you kind of see him on the screen because Christian Bale's character, Frankenstein's monster, he loves going to the movies, and he's a big fan of the actor that Jake Gyllenhaal plays, and he doesn't have like a big role, but you see him here and there. He has a few minutes of screen time, and Annette Bening plays like the female version of Frankenstein who created Frankenstein's monster, and she has a decent enough size role. And Peter Sarsgaard and Penelope Cruz, I like their chemistry in here. They don't have like big roles, but they play like these detectives, and they're really cool. I like seeing them both in here. I thought they were both great, and it really did feel like a punk rock and roll version of Bonnie and Clyde and Joker and Harley Quinn, which I really did like. I thought that was cool, and I definitely recommend you go see the IMAX. Definitely, if I could recommend one thing about this movie, if you are dying to see this movie, I will recommend going to see it in IMAX, because the aspect ratio does change, and it's cool. I always love when an aspect ratio changes, but definitely go see it in IMAX. I would say definitely see it in IMAX, because when that aspect ratio hits, it's cool. It really is cool. And I feel like Maggie Gyllenhaal took some big swings in here. She took some big swings, and she wasn't afraid to take risks in here, which I will applaud her for that. I applaud any director, any creator that takes big swings and takes risks. I do, because the version of The Bride and Frankenstein that we get in here, the version of the story that we get in here, is very unique. The version of the story that Gyllenhaal wanted to go with, the story that she wanted to tell, is very unique, and it is very bold, and it takes bold swings, and it's unlike anything I've seen before. It is unlike anything we've all seen before. And I thought that the dialogue was good. And I thought for the most part the pacing was good, and there's a really cool dance number in here that some people may find cool, and I actually thought that scene was really cool. And the movie definitely has a chance of being nominated for Best Makeup and Hairstyling, especially on Christian Bale. The makeup and hairstyle was phenomenal, and definitely on Jessie Buckley as well. I thought the makeup was great on Jessie Buckley as the bride, but the makeup on Christian Bale as Frankenstein's monster was out of this world, and I definitely think it has a chance of getting nominated or maybe possibly winning Best Makeup and Hairstyling. And I think Christian Bale and Jessie Buckley both have a chance of getting nominated for Best Actor and Best Actress, or possibly even winning. That being said, though, the story in here is just not as interesting as it should be. It's not as strong as it should be, and it's not as smart as it thinks it is. And I mentioned earlier that the pacing was good for the most part. It was good for the most part. It was, but you can definitely feel that it definitely starts to drag. At times it does. And towards the third act, when we do get to the third act, I was ready to leave. It started to overstay its welcome. It wore out its welcome, and I wasn't over the top bored. I really wasn't really bored. I wasn't, but it starts to drag, and I started to feel the runtime. I did, and I'm really disappointed. Because I was really looking forward to this movie. And this was arguably one of my most anticipated movies of the year. The trailers were so good, and this movie was not what I thought it would be. Like, there are some things where I was like, oh, okay, I figured that's what it was going to be about from the trailer. But then it's just a story. It just does things that I did not expect it to do, and the bold swings that it takes just don't work. And it's not horrible by any means, it's not, but it's just very mid. It's very middle of the road. And I mentioned earlier that Maggie Gyllenhaal, she takes big swings. She does. She takes bold, big swings, and I applaud her for that. I really do applaud her for that. I applaud any director that takes swings, because you don't know what the audience is going to say. You don't know how the audience is going to react when you take big, bold swings, risks. You don't know. But she did that, and I applaud her for that. I applaud any director, any creator for that when they do that. But those risks and swings don't really work all that well in here. And this isn't really a spoiler, but it could be considered a spoiler in a way. But the movie opens up with Jessie Buckley, who plays the bride, as the narrator. And we come to find out that Jessie Buckley, the bride, is not only playing the bride, but she's playing Mary Shelley as well, who is the lady that wrote the 1818 novel, the Frankenstein novel. And she somehow possesses our main lead in here. Our main lead's name in here is Ida, who is the bride. Ida becomes the bride, and it's really odd and confusing, because when the movie opens, we see her get possessed by Mary Shelley, and that's where we have our story, and there's not much buildup. And I think that the story would have been much tighter if there was actual buildup. And then you have Christian Bale's part of the story, where he's basically lonely, and he's looking for a partner, and he's looking for love. He is. And he goes to dig up the bride's grave, but we never understand why he digs her up and not anyone else. Like, he could have easily dug up another dead woman. He could have easily dug someone else up, but he decided to dig up the bride, Jessie Buckley. And the thing is, I guess you could kind of call it a plot hole. It's kind of a plot hole in a way. They never explain why he digs her up at all, and it's just a story. It's just not as strong as it should be. It's not as strong as it thinks it is. And maybe it's one of those things where he didn't care who he dug up or which person he dug up, but it felt kind of like a plot hole, and it just stuck out like a sore thumb. It did. And the story as well, it doesn't know where it wants to go half of the time and what it wants to do half of the time. It is very unfocused. It is very uneven. And the movie's bizarre. It's odd, and it's wacky and strange, which isn't a bad thing, but the movie itself could have been so much better. It could have been so much better, and it's mainly not as interesting as it should be, and it's not as fun as it should be, and I was just overly disappointed. disappointed with it. So yeah, overall with The Bride, this was easily one of my most anticipated movies of the year, and unfortunately I walked out just being overly disappointed with it. I didn't hate the film. I think there are some really great things about it. I like Jessie Buckley in here. I like Christian Bale in here. I think Maggie Gyllenhaal has a future in directing, and I like the way it's directed, whether it's the aesthetic, the cinematography, the color grading, how the camera moved. But with The Bride, I am going to give this film a 3 out of 5 stars. And with The Bride, I will say choose your time wisely. If you saw the trailers and you were hooked instantly, and if you saw that Maggie Gyllenhaal was going to direct this, and if you were excited about that, if you were excited to see Christian Bale and Jessie Buckley, and if you were excited to see this Bonnie and Clyde type punk rock story, unfortunately, I think you might be disappointed like I was. So that'll wrap up this video. Thank y'all so much for watching. If you're new to the channel, please subscribe, like, comment, share this video. We just hit 1K subs a while back. We're now at 1.3K. And the next big milestone is 2K and 3K after that. Beyond that as well. If you're new as well, I do movie reviews, TV show reviews, trailer reactions, movie live streams, movie news, movie rankings, all that wonderful movie stuff under the movie umbrella. And let's talk about in the comments down below. Did you like The Bride? Did y'all not like it? Or are you going to go see it in theaters? Or are you going to wait to watch it on streaming? Let's talk about it down below. Keep talking movies, wonderful people. Cheers.